Hi. Today we can talk about, carry on talking about the different terminology in narcissism. So before I start, please click the button to subscribe to my YouTube channel. And if you like what I'm talking about, please follow me on Facebook, on my support group, Phoenix Rising, if you want more help, advice and support with any of the issues that I'm discussing today. So with regards to terminology in narcissism, there are words such as deflection and projection. So deflection and projection in narcissism is when an abuser projects all of their traits onto the victim. So for example, an abuser can be volatile, they can be aggressive, they can be unstable, they can be jealous and insecure and possessive and obsessive. But they will portray that and deflect it onto you. So they will say that you are insecure, that you are jealous, that you are possessive, that you are obsessive, that if they're being unfaithful, they will actually cover that up by accusing you of being unfaithful. So quite often you find in narcissism that narcissists cannot be faithful. They just are not able or capable of being loyal to one person. Often they need a lot of different supplies. They will have multiple girlfriends, they will have multiple wives, girlfriends, one-night stands, they may be visiting call girls or people that they pay for sexual favours. So they will often have multiple supplies, and we call them supplies. So whoever they're with, the wives, the girlfriends, one-night stands, people they pay for affection, attention, and intimacy. So they will have multiple supplies. So they will not be faithful to you, but you may be the faithful girlfriend or the wife or the partner or the husband, but they will accuse you of being unfaithful. If somebody looks at you, they'll accuse you of doing something to encourage them to look at you. If somebody says hello to you, you've gone to a shop and somebody said hello to you, they will blame you for smiling at that person or attracting their attention. So often you find with narcissists, they like to portray you as the abuser. So they will blame you for being jealous, they will blame you for being controlling, they'll blame you for being unstable and unreasonable. Then we've got other aspects of narcissism, like the manipulation techniques that they use. So narcissists are very, very manipulative. They are on par with psychopaths, with sociopaths, with mass murderers, with serial rapists. They are dangerous to that level, but they are so manipulative and so sneaky and so conniving in the way that they portray themselves and they project themselves, and they are able to cover up how psychopathic they are. So often they will enact in their heads, they will enact entire scenes and entire conversations and entire situations where they will play it out in their head. So with first-hand experience with myself, for example, one of the narcissists would be sat on the other side of the sofa and I'd be sat on the opposite side of the sofa, and he would sit there and he would play these entire conversations in his head, and he'll be using hand gestures and he'll be talking out loud at times. And I would ask him, what are you doing? You know, why are you doing that? And he'll be like, no, nothing, I'm not doing anything. But he is actually enacting the entire conversation in his head and the entire situation, that I will say this and the other person will say that, and then I will react like this and they will react like that. And he would do this on a regular basis, and it wasn't till towards the end of our relationship that I realized what he was doing. And it was comical in a way. It's like, why would anybody do this? Why do people do this? Me as a person, I am very, I wear my heart on my sleeves, so I react to that situation at the time that it's happening. I don't pre-plan it. I often don't think about things, what I'm going to say, what I'm going to do, how it's going to happen. I do it. I'm honest, I'm open, and I react to a situation as openly, as honestly as I can. I get it wrong a lot of the times. I may overreact sometimes. I may take things wrong sometimes, but I don't plan things. I don't manipulate situations. I don't it's unbelievable to me, to the level that they are so manipulative, you know, that they can plan all of this. But it shows just the depth of depravity. And it, you know, often they accuse us that we can't stop thinking about them, and even as victims we feel that we're thinking about them all the time. You know, we can't get them out of our heads, that they're controlling every aspect of our life even when they're not in our lives. But narcissists do not have a minute's peace, because they are constantly lying, covering up for their lies, manipulating situations, manipulating people, enacting all these situations out, planning every aspect of their life and the lives of their victims. What they need to do, how they need to do it, what they need to say, what they need to show people, how it will portray to other people, how people will perceive them and what they will think about them. You know, I would love to do a thesis, an entire experiment, psychological experiment or thesis or something to find out the psyche of a narcissist and how they function and why they do the things they do. And from weeks of research and months of research and first-hand experience, I do understand a lot of the reasons they do things, and it is a lot to do with manipulation and control and their egos. They have very low self-esteem, they have very low sense of self and worth due to their history of abuse. Most of them have had child abuse in the past, most of them have had sexual abuse in the past. A lot of the male narcissists appear to be homosexual and gay, and they're coveted gays, so they will cover up the fact that they are homosexual. They will marry, they will have children, and yet they will hate themselves for it. They will hate their partners for it. They will take out their rage and their anger and their contempt and their hatred on their partners because they hate it. They hate to be coveted gays. They want to be able to practice and live a free life, but they're not able to because they cannot bear the thought of people realizing who they are and what they are. They cannot bear the thought of the public knowing that they are actual gays. First-hand experience with the latest narcissist, he was having homosexual colleagues message him at 3 o'clock in the morning. He was having men hit on him all the time. There are stories of men in Pakistan molesting him or touching him or hitting on him. You know, I have a strong suspicion that he was sexually abused in childhood because of the stories that he's told me and the things that he's told me about things that have happened to him. He was so scared to go to sleep. He would sleep at the foot of his mother's bed with his mum, and his brother would be asleep and he'd be sleeping in the foot of the bed because he was just so scared. He was just frightened out of his head. His sister, who had left school by now and he was starting school, would take him to his primary school, and she would sit in his class with him all day, every day, because he was scared, or they were protecting him, or they did not trust anyone to leave him with them, because he was a beautiful blonde child with green eyes and fair skin, and he was the typical child that somebody would target, a paedophile would target. And him and his younger brothers, he had one younger brother and then two old brothers who were similar, around the same age, but they're all four of them are gorgeous. They're white, they're fair-skinned, green-eyed, light hair. So in rural Pakistan, you know, I mean, there probably are a lot of people in the mountains and things that have this kind of colouring, but for a typical Asian, it's very rare to find green eyes and fair skin. So, you know, they were mollycoddled to the point where they were not allowed to go and play with their cousins who lived around them, so they were, you know, neighbours, and they were not allowed to leave the front door to go and play with their cousins. They were not allowed to go to tuition. They were not allowed to have anybody extra in their lives apart from the immediate family. And the things that I have been told and that my partner, ex-narcissist, has told me strongly supports the idea that he was sexually abused in childhood. He is a coveted homosexual gay, you know, and it hurts me to feel that he wasn't able to tell me, or he wasn't able to admit these things, because he's known since we met and since we married that I am a strong believer in live and let live. You know, I don't support the idea of homosexuality. You know, I'm Muslim, and in Islam we don't support the idea of homosexuality, but I'm not discriminative against anybody. You know, homosexual, bi, LGB, anything. You know, to be honest, it doesn't bother me. You know, I've had friends who are gay, I've had friends who are lesbian, I've had bi friends, you know, I've had colleagues, I've had people at college. I find it very intriguing to find out about people. I like to learn about people and find out what their lives are like, what experiences they've had. But I've never ever discriminated against anybody. I've never thought any differently about anybody, you know, on the basis of their sexual orientation or their race or their religion or their backgrounds or their sex. You know, to me, a person is a person, and if somebody treats me with respect and love and dignity, then I would like to treat them with love and respect and dignity. But for him to feel that he is not able to come out and tell me these things, and he wasn't honest with me from the start, you know, if he'd married and told me later that, look, you know, it was a mistake, I shouldn't have, I would have helped him. I would have done everything in my power to help him, to support him, to get him the help he needed, you know, to help him live the life that he deserved to live. You know, had he not ruined a decade of my life, had he not ruined my 2 older children, their lives. I have 2 younger children now who are distraught. You know, they love their dad. They've had an amazing bonding and relationship with their dad. So suddenly for him not to be in their lives is a big trauma for them. It affects them every day, every stage of their life. With my older children, I mean, my eldest was 14 when I remarried. And he was very self-sufficient, he was very independent. He wanted me to be happy. So he could see that remarrying, falling in love, was a good decision for me, you know, and he didn't make much effort to get to know his stepdad. He didn't pay much attention to him. They barely ever spoke to each other. They barely ever had any conversation, anything to do with each other. They lived separate lives. They lived in the same house, but they lived separate lives, which was fine, you know, as long as they weren't being horrible to each other. If they didn't want to bond, if they didn't want to have a relationship, I couldn't force that on them. But there were incidents like my oldest son would go to his granny's house and say that my mum only cooks for him. She doesn't cook for us, she cooks for him. Because my center of attention and my center of my world was this new partner. And I cared for my children, I loved my children, but I was head over heels in love with this person. His happiness, his peace, his preferences, his choices, everything was so important to me that I was willing to put my children on a back foot, and myself and my preferences and my family, my friends, my colleagues, my life, everything was on hold for this one person and for the love of this person. So had he come out and told me these things, I wouldn't have judged him. I wouldn't have treated him differently. Yes, I may have divorced him at the time, only for his own peace and happiness, because clearly if he's a homosexual, then he doesn't need to be with a woman, you know. He's deceiving himself, and he's deceiving me, and he's deceiving my children, and he's deceiving the entire world by lying about what he is and by manipulating me into believing that he loves me. An admin on another narc page that I go on has actually told me that they force themselves to sleep with their wives because they have to keep up the pretense of being straight. You know, they're covering up the fact that they're homosexual. So in order to cover up that and to continue with that lie, they have to force themselves. And to think that I lived with this man for a decade and he has forced himself to stay with me, to sleep with me, to be with me, to share a life with me, to have children with me. It hurts. It really hurts. It's, you know, it's being used. You're being used for the benefit of somebody else, you know. He got British citizenship, he got a British passport, British children, British lifestyle. When he married me, he had nothing, you know. He was sleeping on a mattress on the floor in a shared house in Birmingham with other men who supposedly came over to study in the UK. They weren't studying, they were all working. They were lying, they were pretending to go to college, they were pretending to attend their lessons. Quite often this narcissist would be asleep and I'd be at work at 8 o'clock in the morning phoning him, trying to wake him up to go to college because he was meant to be at college, but he's fast asleep, he doesn't want to go to college. So a lot of the, they abuse the system, and our immigration system has been tightened and it's been made stricter because of people like that who abuse the system, who lie about their intentions, who come to the UK with the intention to marry and settle down, to obtain British citizenship and British passports. And they marry and they deceive people and they use people. He's told me himself about stories of a woman in London who has special needs, who's overweight, who's white, and a Pakistani man that he knows or was living with him, or he knows personally, or is a friend of his, married this woman for the sole purpose of getting British citizenship and British passport. He didn't tell her that's why he was marrying her. He pretended that he fell in love with her, pretended that he wanted to be with her, got his British citizenship and British passport, and then he dumped her, and he divorced her, and he separated. Then he gave her number to one of his friends who also needed a British passport and a British citizenship and a spouse visa. So the friend did the same thing, and they used this woman twice, both of the friends, to get a spouse visa, to get a British citizenship, to get British passport, and then they dumped her. And to hear stories like that, and when he's relating stories like that, he's not showing remorse, he's not showing any guilt or remorse or condolences for the victim in all this. He's just telling me matter-of-factly that this has happened. And I know of so many stories of women that are used. They're deceived, they're used, they're made to feel that somebody has fallen in love with them and somebody actually loves them and wants to be with them. And often these are people who are desperate, who have been victims, who have been abused, who have been hurt, who have been separated, who are struggling to make a life for themselves, who are struggling to look after their children, single mums, special needs. And it's heartbreaking. It's heartbreaking to think that these people purposefully target the vulnerable in our society. I have a friend on my support group. She knows who she is. She'll be my first viewer, possibly. She loves my videos. And she said to me that, she's told me stories or people who are interested in her, who on the off, as soon as she tells me the story or introduces me or tells me about them, I know straight away they're using her. They want to use her. People sat in Bangladesh and Pakistan and India who befriend people in the West, who make them believe that they want to marry them because they love them. My own cousin has done the same thing. He has married two of my cousins, a male and a female. So the male befriended the woman on Facebook or social media, and he married her and he came over here. As far as I can see from the relationship, I don't know them very well, but from what I've heard from other cousins, he's very abusive to her. She suffers with depression, she suffers with anxiety, she suffers with all sorts of issues. And he's abusive to her verbally, and that's all I know, is that he's verbally abusive to her. Often verbal abuse does not come on its own. If somebody is verbally abusive to you, they will be abusive to you in other ways. Physically, emotionally, psychologically, financially, sexually, coercive control. It all comes hand in hand. You often get them together. It's very rare that you'll get one form of abuse and not the other. The female cousin of mine, who also did the same, so she would get hold of numbers for friends of her brothers, anybody randomly, friends of friends, wherever. I'm not even sure how she got all these numbers and how she got contact with all these people abroad, but she managed to persuade a British citizen to marry her and bring her over here. I was very fond of her, to be honest. She was like a sister to me. I loved her to bits, and I loved her son to bits. But I knew what she was doing, and I know what she's done, and I know what kind of person she is. She's not a very nice person at all. So she's befriended this British citizen. She's got him to marry her. She's got him, and she was pregnant. So she got him to marry her, and she fell pregnant in Bangladesh. And his family has never accepted her. They weren't very good with her. And they must have persuaded him that she was cheating on him. To be honest, I do not know. Perhaps she was, because the kind of girl she is, she has a habit of having multiple men on the go. I mean, she may even be a narcissist for all I know, because she has always had lots and lots of men that she talks to, lots and lots of men that she flirts with. I went to stay with her for 2 days a few years ago, and she took me around the town centre where she lives in London, and every shop she went to and every store she went to, she's flirting with the stall holders, she's flirting with the shopkeepers, and she's introducing me to them as well. And I was so embarrassed. You know, I'm no angel. You know, I have men on my Facebook, I have men at work that I talk to. You know, I am very outgoing and very social, so people may think that I'm flirting with them, people may think that I'm leading them on or I'm interested in them. It's just banter, you know, and I'm like that with everybody I meet. So if it's a male, if it's a female, if it's a child, if it's an adult, the police officer, the school teachers, the male and the female teachers, and the male and the female police officers, it doesn't, you know, I'm not flirting with them, I'm talking to them. And yet my cousin would take me around the shops and the stalls, and she was openly flirting with them, all of them. And I was so embarrassed. You know, I find it so embarrassing. When I went to Pakistan with my sister-in-laws in the shops there, they were openly, and, you know, just, these are middle-aged married women with children. One of them didn't have a child, but she's 50. Flirting with 20-year-olds, 25-year-old guys, good-looking young guys. You know, it's great, it's nice to say hello to a shopkeeper and to chat to them and stuff. But when you spend an hour sat there laughing, joking, flirting, implying things, you know, comments, things like, oh, don't look at me that way, or you're embarrassing me, or that is a desperate housewife. Okay, it's not acceptable. At 40, at 50, to be hitting on 20-year-old guys, 25-year-old guys, to flirt with them, to imply things. The store holders, the lift operators, the taxi drivers, the bus drivers, the people in the streets. It's embarrassing. You don't do that, you know. I understand people want attention and they want affection and they want love and they want to feel loved and they want to feel appreciated. But stay in your limits, you know, or don't if that's what you want to do. Who am I to tell you not to do that? You know, if that's what you want to do and it makes you happy and you're not hurting anyone, I'm always one for, you know, live and let live. And if that makes you happy to flirt with everybody you can, you might get labelled a cougar, and you might get labelled not very nice things said about you. If that's what you want to do and you don't care, if people don't say nice things about you, then that's fine, you know. I think I struggle with this because openly I look so confident and so sure of myself, and I can walk into anywhere, you know, that I haven't been before, people I haven't met, and I can strike a conversation with them, I can get friendly with them, I can feel comfortable with them, I can talk about anything and everything, you know, relate to their kids, their wives, their mothers, their fathers, you know, anybody, to be honest. I don't have an issue with that. I do have an issue when people hit on me. So if somebody directly, openly hits on me straight away, almost, you know, I've just met somebody and they're openly, do you want to go for a drink? Do you want to go for coffee? Or implying that they want to take me out. I struggle with that. And I think that comes down to the history of child abuse and the domestic violence and the humiliation and the bullying and everything that I've suffered. I struggle when people openly hit on me. I can't cope with it. It sends off warning flags in my head and red flags go off in my head, and I automatically will take a step back and think, no, I'm not going to go there. I'm not going to encourage this person because clearly this person's got taken it the wrong way. I'm friendly, I'm open, I'm outgoing, I'm sociable. That does not mean that I am easy and that I will just say, yes, come on, let's go. I don't mind making friends with people. You know, I'm a firm believer that men and women can be friends. Anybody can be friends. You know, it doesn't matter about age. It doesn't matter about sex. It doesn't matter about your backgrounds and religion and culture. You can be friends with anybody. And I'm more inclined to become friends with people and then maybe consider anything further. You know, if I want to remarry, if I want to have any relationships in future, I will definitely consider people who I consider friends, as opposed to somebody who's just coming on and hitting on me, because to me that implies that they're just after one thing. You know, when somebody just automatically hits on you from how you look, they can only be after one thing, you know. And I have more respect for myself than to throw myself at everybody, to just allow anybody to come and use me and abuse me and discard me. You know, I don't need a man in my life to live, to succeed, to provide for my children, to achieve the goals that I've set myself, to reach the heights that I would like to reach. I can do that all by myself. I do not need a man to do that. You know, I am more than capable of working, of providing, of being successful. You know, I feel I've already come so far in just 3 months of becoming narc free. I'm running a successful online support group. I'm mentoring people online. I am putting every minute of every day into how I can improve myself, how I can improve my life, how I can help other people, how I can reach other people, educate them on child abuse and domestic violence and narcissism and forced marriages and honor-based abuse and child brides. I want to help people as much as I can, to use as much of my own first-hand experience to help them to achieve their goals and to overcome their past, to accept what's happened to them, to learn techniques and methods to overcome those things, to improve their self-esteem and self-confidence, so they can then go on and achieve so much. You know, if you stop holding yourself back, if you stop limiting yourself, if you stop allowing other people to control you and to limit you and to tell you that you are worthless and useless and not able to achieve, you can achieve so much. You know, you need to give yourself those opportunities. You need to open your eyes and your hearts and your heads and allow yourself opportunities. I am doing my YouTube videos, as you can see. I am running my online support group. I am mentoring people 24/7. I am finding other ways to help people. I would like to go into the community. I'm in talks with a local imam about having support groups at the mosque. I've been offered a slot on a radio station, local radio station, Awaz FM 99.8 FM. Please tune in on a Tuesday or a Wednesday, 1 to 2 p.m. And hopefully I shall be running the community show on there, which I'm really excited about, and I was just offered yesterday. Next week I will be doing the community hour as a guest speaker to talk about Phoenix Rising and to talk about what we're promoting and what we're aiming towards. So please tune in, please subscribe to my YouTube channel, that would be amazing. Please join my Facebook support group, Phoenix Rising. I would love to see you all on there. If you need any help, any support, any advice, if you'd like to share your stories with me, I love to hear from you. I love to interact with people. Please let me know. Press that subscribe button. Speak to you soon. Take care. Have a lovely day. Stay safe and live in peace. Live and let live. Take care. Bye.